This is Faith Family Cars Podcast. I'm Jerry.
I'm Zach.
Hit the key.
Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the heart. It was Proverbs 21:2.
Hey guys, welcome back to Faith Family Cars Podcast. We're glad you joined back in. And today we want to start the podcast by apologizing. So what might we be apologizing for? Terrible sound quality.
Yeah, the sound quality in Eddie's interview, I hate it because it was such a good interview.
Yeah.
But the sound quality on our end was horrendous.
Yeah, not Eddie's end. Eddie's end was great.
Yeah.
Eddie's end was great.
So at least you got to hear, what actually needed to be heard pretty well. The rest of it was just us talking. So.
Yeah. So I think I figured out what happened. The software we use to do those streaming podcasts like that is it's got a little tab on there. You got to click for an external mic or to use the PC mic, and I don't think I changed that over. And the PC was kind of across the room from us, wasn't even next to us.
Yeah, so it was not picking up sound very well.
Yeah, it wasn't picking up sound very well at all, and it was just a big echo.
That's why it sounds like we're yelling down a hallway at it. So.
Yeah. So it was really bad. We apologize for that, and we're constantly trying to work on making things better and making our sound quality better, and we'll get there, a little at a time. But we wanted to apologize for that, and we hope that everybody still listens to that podcast and just try to deal with the sound quality issues because his story is great, and
it's well worth
everybody
the listen.
needs to listen to it because you get to meet the man behind the memes. And so many people see his memes and have no clue who he is.
Yeah.
So go check it out. It's episode 17 and 18, parts 1 and 2. So they're a little bit over an hour apiece. So go check them out. So,
well, today is a bit of a another tangential episode where we just kind of talk about stuff
things that's going on in the industry.
Things that's going on in the car world, things that's going on in our garage, things that we've been doing lately. And so first topic is SEMA.
So SEMA is several weeks old now.
Yeah.
But
we're just getting around to talking about it.
Yeah, but SEMA seemed a little different to me this year for some reason, and I listened to some other podcasts, C10 Talk for one. Yeah, C10 Talk. Y'all can't believe that, can you? But other guys are saying kind of the same thing. It just kind of seemed down this year. There wasn't like anything mind-blowing that was out there. But there's two vehicles that stood out to me.
Well, hold on. There was one mind-blowing thing to me.
Okay.
And it was the fact that there was, excuse me. It was the fact that there was a Mazda Miata with an LT motor in it and a Lamborghini intake on top that was not attached. It was just sitting on top.
Yeah.
How does that get into SEMA?
Yeah, I don't know. And I don't understand how anything non-running is allowed in there.
But I mean, that's the same thing with like SEMA, PRI, all those big shows like that. People can just push their cars in and, I had a buddy tell me about something at PRI that was literally just an engine with an exhaust, but nothing was hooked up to the engine.
I saw that.
Yeah.
We'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, sorry to jump the gun there, but still, it's like, why?
Yeah.
Why does anybody care to see that? I mean, maybe your exhaust fabrication work's cool, but if that's not what you're selling, then...
Well, sometimes, though, like, I don't know about the Miata, but sometimes it's about maybe suspension.
Yeah, and that's fine.
So they're selling the suspension
and
products.
that's fine, but if I go to SEMA, and see an F450, with a 14-inch lift on it and wides, but the drive shaft's not hooked up, what's the point?
Yeah.
Why are you there?
Yeah.
Put a drive shaft in, man.
Yeah.
It can't be that hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't understand all that. But the cars that were complete, the two that stood out to me the most was Solomon Lunger's F100. Carbon Clyde. If you guys know, Solomon runs Ford Era on Instagram and Facebook, and Ford Era just blew up over the last 5 years. And he's really made a name for himself in the F100 world.
It was one of those things that really took advantage of COVID.
Yeah,
there was a lot of social media influencers and companies and stuff that took advantage of COVID, and they were The Ford Arrow was definitely one of them because that's when he blew up, when people were inside and able to watch all his content.
Yeah, and so Carbon Clyde has been developing over the last several years, and we kind of seen part of that at Ford Fest a few years ago. This company shows up with a shell of like a 78 or 79 long bed F100, but the shell was fully carbon fiber, everything, and Solomon just loved that truck.
Yeah.
You know, we had discussions about it that day. He loved that truck, and he had this black, I think it's a 72, 71 or 72 F100 that he called Clyde, that he had planned on putting a fat fender garage chassis under and putting a GT500, Mustang GT500 motor in, and that truck became the carbon fiber project. And then it turned into a SEMA project, and it's like watching the whole development of this truck was pretty wild.
Well, the thing that stood out the most to me on that truck was, I mean, yeah, it's carbon fiber, that's sick, but the wheels.
The wheels are awesome.
The wheels are one of one. Yeah. The thing is, I've never seen anything remotely close to those wheels before.
Yeah.
I mean, they were just so unique.
And they're built by his manufacturing company that he just started, that's been in development for several years too. Solo's manufacturing.
Along with the steering wheel. The steering wheel looked nice because it was a perfect mix of classic truck and like almost kind of reminded me of like a Mustang steering wheel.
Yeah.
Like a newer Mustang.
Yeah. So he also has a lot of billet parts on the interior, the dash bezel and the instrument cluster and stuff. He's Solo Manufacturing makes all of that stuff.
So it seems like right now with that company, he's just making stuff for himself, but he'll eventually be selling.
Well, he's selling some of it.
Is he? Okay.
Like the dash components and stuff. He has started selling that.
Well, because if I'm not mistaken, somebody in the comment section on one of his posts about that truck asked about the wheels or the steering wheel, one or the other. I can't remember. And he said they'll eventually be developing those.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And we'll eventually be able to get either those wheels or the steering wheel, which both of them, in my opinion, are equally as cool.
Oh, yeah, they are. And he's got his own tail lights for bump side F100s, which are pretty wild looking. They're LEDs. They almost kind of got almost like a louvered look.
It's a perfect resto mod company.
It is
really what it is.
Yeah, it's what he's working at. Yeah. And so the truck was unbelievable, but to me it wasn't the best because there was one thing that I didn't care for, and that was the carbon fiber.
That's the whole point of the truck.
I know. But the original truck was okay with me. Yeah. You know, I'm not a huge carbon fiber guy. I think from a distance it looks awesome, but then when you get up to it and you actually see the carbon fiber, it's just like,
maybe
I'm not a fan of that.
Maybe it's just because it's more of a newer generation type thing.
Probably so.
Because I grew up with it and I love it. Like something that I actually like a lot, and you see it more and more, is like the new Supra, all right? And you'll see it out and about with like some slicks on it, okay? Because they can make those really fast.
Yeah.
Those Supras can be really fast. But anyway, carbon front fenders and carbon hood. So it's just a full carbon front end, and people will just run that. And I think it looks so clean. Or like I've seen carbon rear fenders on Corvettes. I think that looks cool.
I think like carbon fiber accents. Like there's a lot of your high performance cars now are getting like mirrors.
Yeah, mirrors,
or they're getting
lips,
carbon
wings.
fiber wheels. Yeah, lips and wings. That's kind of cool looking, but for the whole vehicle to be carbon fiber, it's just like,
I don't know. I like it.
Doesn't appeal to me.
I like it.
So my favorite car from SEMA would have been the Ring Brothers. No, not the Ring Brothers.
The Dutch Boys.
Dutch Boys. The Ring Brothers had one.
Yeah, theirs was nice too.
The Dutch Boys Grand National. The Ring Brothers Grand National, was awesome, but the Dutch Boys Grand National topped it, in my opinion. That car was just unbelievable.
LS7, 1,500 horsepower.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to beat that.
But I wasn't even looking at the motor.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the style of the wheels.
Yeah.
The interior, how they made the interior flow and still kept an original look to it.
Yeah.
I mean, the louvers and stuff that they put in the hood and things. I mean, just all the extra touches to that car to keep it stock looking, but make it look just unbelievable and wide. I mean, it was on the ground. It looked very wide with the wide wheels and stuff on it.
So it seemed like this year's SEMA was just G-bodies and Ford pickups.
Yeah, and just from people I've seen, online who've posted about it, that was a lot of what they've talked
Well,
about.
because right off the top of my head, and keep in mind, we did not go, so we didn't get to like see everything that was there. There could have been way more than this, but just right off the top of my head, I can already think of 3 G bodies that were there, and that's just like just real quick thinking, I mean, there was the Monte Carlo SS by Good Guys. I thought that was a really nice car. The white and gold looked good, but you had the Ream Brothers Grand National, you had Dutch Boys Grand National, and I know there was more, and I just can't think of all.
I thought that there was a Malibu that was there too that was really big, but
yeah,
I'm just thinking about the coverage too. I felt like was a little lower than normal. I did not feel like I saw as much, and maybe that was just me not paying attention. But
was Hoonigan there this year?
I don't know. Well, I would guess not because that company fell apart.
They're still like going.
Well,
even though they're kind of in the gutter, but
yeah.
The only reason I'm wondering is because a lot of my coverage I received last year was from them in the burn yard that they had.
Yeah.
Because they would have that little section off area in the parking lot, and everybody just do burnouts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to get a lot of coverage from that because people there actually a couple years ago. I will never forget this. A couple years ago, this guy went out to the burn yard in his Silverado, and he had a spare engine in the back of the Silverado. He blew his truck up at the burn yard, and then went to the parking lot and swapped motors and came back and did it again.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, crazy stuff.
I wouldn't even think to attempt something like that.
I don't know. I mean, it makes a good story.
Yeah,
Plus,
it does.
you could always make a cool YouTube video out of it and stuff. But
yeah.
No, the coverage was very, very lacking this year. Like, I feel like usually I get coverage for like at least a week, and then you'll go a month, and people are like, "Oh, let's go back to SEMA. Let's flash back to SEMA real quick." So then you'll get another week's worth of coverage. But now it's like I've seen it for 3 days.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen anything else about it since.
Yeah, I haven't either. I mean, to me, it didn't seem like there was a lot out there. Okay.
So the cars that stood out to me, there's one specifically. And, there was a lot of really cool cars. The Vibrant Performance Mustang was insane, which, into our next topic, that was also a PRI. But anyway, the Vibrant Performance Mustang, it was like a twin-turbo 5.2 Voodoo motor. It was pretty insane. That was not my favorite, though. And what's funny is my favorite wasn't a Ford either. It was a Chevrolet.
It's going to be a G-body.
No.
Oh, okay.
It is a 1963 Impala.
Okay.
Called Sexy Red.
Yeah, all right.
And that car, I watched this guy like when he kind of first started building it, because the guy that built it is in Burnout Rivals. He's got a burnout truck that I think, man, I can't even think of what kind of truck it is because it's missing like half the panels on the front end because it's got a massive blower sticking out the hood. So, well, there is no hood, so it's like a grill essentially, no bumper, just a grill, no hood. I can't tell what it is, but anyway, he built this car, and I watched him build it on Instagram. And it is a 63 Impala, but it's not just any 63 Impala. It's on hydraulics, and it's got a massive blower with nitrous, and the entire, like, motor, I think parts of the frame, just random stuff everywhere. They got a Motion Raceworks, like, Pro Shifter that has this too. It is all engraved, all of it. It's either silver, gold-plated, and engraved, the entire thing. And the car is this like candy red with some like pinstriping and like old school like 90s styled like paint, like airbrush kind of paint. It is so clean, and the attention to detail is really just what blows me away. It's like, I mean, the guy that engraved all of it, he goes by Engrave It on Instagram, and then the guy that built it's BCC Zach. But yeah, this car is absolutely insane. And my favorite video I've seen, if you go to BCC Zach's Instagram, you can find this video. But he's in California. He's on that road where like all the palm trees are running down the side of the road. I don't know what it is, but I've seen it in like movies and TV shows and stuff. But anyway, he's riding down that road, just riding in the middle of it, and he's up on 3 wheels. So he's got just one wheel sticking up in the air, and the cam is just chopping hard. Which it also has blower surge because the blower is massive.
The blower's huge.
So it's just barely creeping, and you just hear whom. Whom, whom, and it's so cool. But yeah, that's my favorite car.
Well, that car was at PRI.
That car was at PRI.
So I just got back from PRI, and that was one of the last cars I looked at. Zach told me about it, and he said, you got to go look at this car. and it was unbelievable.
See,
to see
me telling you about it, I feel like you were like, it's a hydraulics car.
Yeah.
I'm not really into that.
But when I walked up on it, I'm like, this thing is insane.
This is a true SEMA build. Like,
Yeah.
when I think SEMA, this is what I think of.
Well, for one, it's over the top, but yet it kept the original styling of the car the same. I mean, it is a Impala through and through.
Mm-hmm.
But it has a early 90s vibe to it with the hydraulics and the little Dayton style wheels, wire wheels.
Which I'm pretty sure the wheels are engraved too.
They may have been. I didn't pay much attention to them because
I think the lips are engraved.
My eyes stay focused so much on the motor.
Yeah.
Because every tiny centimeter of that motor has some kind of engraving on it.
And the motor is a Texas Speed LS. I don't know what size LS. I can't remember.
Well, the blower is huge. And when you walk around the corner and you see this car, all you see is the big blower.
I'm going to be honest. The blower is probably the size of my torso, if not bigger. It's massive.
It is.
It is a huge blower.
You got to get on there and look at it. The pictures don't do it justice, especially when you walk around the rear of the car and the trunk's open and they've got all of the valves and the airlines and everything. Everything is metal. There's no like rubber airlines or nothing, and it's all engraved back here. The tanks, everything's engraved. The interior trim pieces are engraved. The shifter's engraved. The steering wheel has engravings on it.
So,
I mean, it is just insane.
What let me know that, because I didn't get to go to PRI, I just started a new job and I could not get off work, sadly. So he got to have fun without me.
I hated that too because there was a lot of stuff he would like to see.
Well, a lot of people I follow on Instagram, I'll give you a little list of people that were there that I know of. But when you sent me the pictures of it, unedited, because when it's on Instagram, obviously it's always edited.
Yeah.
Unedited, I was like, dang, this car is literally exactly what it is online. It's literally the exact same thing. But anyway, the list of people that I knew of that were there, Tom Bailey, who's the guy that runs like Sick Week and all the Sick events. I cannot think of his name, but he builds, I can't think of his name at all. And I blanked on it yesterday too when I was talking to you. He builds the SMX motors. But I can't think of his name. Somebody's going to know who I'm talking about. It's Steve something. I can't think of obviously it's an M, but I can't think of what his last name is. But anyway, he's built motors for like Cletus McFarlane and stuff. But he was there. Jimmy Dale's car was there. If y'all watch any of like Street Racing Channel and stuff, you know who Jimmy Dale is. His car was there. White Cracker, which is AV Boys, their car was there, which they were there as well. Tess and Tony were both there. There was a lot of cars there. I mean, BCC Zach's car.
Yep, but that's all on the racing side.
Yeah.
But when you look at some of the just hot rodding side, like I'm more into, you had Mike Finnegan there.
Yeah.
We saw him, our buddy Eddie from Brick Rod Garage. He got to get a picture with him and stuff and talk to him for a little bit. Then we saw Gas Monkey. Richard Rawlings.
Yeah, he actually walked right behind you.
Right behind me. Yeah, that was interesting.
Which their truck was there, but you know what? I'm gonna be a little bit honest here. Be a little bit honest with all y'all. Sorry if you're Gas Monkey Garage fans, because I am too. I was a big Gas Monkey Garage fan. I know they get a lot of hate these days.
You grew up watching it.
Yeah, I grew up watching it. All like me and Dad, as soon as I'd come home from basketball practice, we would sit on the couch and watch it.
Gas Monkey Garage.
I think the only time I didn't watch it was maybe the last season. I didn't watch that because life kind of got busy. But I hate their SEMA truck. It is so ugly.
Yeah.
It is so ugly in my opinion. And I love a lot of the stuff they do. But it is if you haven't seen it, just go on Gas Monkey Garage, you'll see it, or SEMA, go on them. It was in the Texas Speed booth at PRI. Which
I didn't get to see yet.
Yeah, well, you didn't miss anything from my buddies I've talked to. They said the Texas Speed booth sucked. So,
oh wow.
Well, you don't have to worry. You know, they know all about that stuff because it's all LS stuff, and they're all LS guys, and they're like, no, it just wasn't a very good booth this year. So, but anyway. It is a dually C1500, or I guess maybe it's not a C15. It's probably, I don't know.
It would be a 3500.
Okay.
To be a dually.
It's a dually. But it's like lowered, but it's almost got like a track stance to it. But it's just not a track truck. It just looks really weird. I don't like it. It's got a Texas Speed LS in it, obviously. That's why it's in their booth. But it just doesn't look good. I mean, it's fully murdered out, which I think murdered out can look good, but it's like this truck just missed the mark somewhere, and I can't put my finger on it, but it just doesn't look good. And I don't know. I wasn't a fan of it.
Apparently, Richard Rawlings likes it, and there's some dudes out there that do like
yeah,
it.
But like I said, I'm being a little bit honest here. I love majority of the stuff they build. I think that they build some really cool stuff. Yeah. But that truck just completely missed the mark for me.
Yeah. So we got to see those guys, and there was so many people there. But we really weren't there for any meet and greets or anything like that. We were just there to take the experience in, you know, and hang out with our buddies, Eddie, Pap, and Mark Frisbee, and some of the guys that Mark's friends with came along, and got to meet some new friends. We got to meet up with Tim Moore, who with Aces, who we've been talking to a whole lot, and it's a really good place to just hang out with your buddies. And kind of go and talk to some vendors that you use their parts, you know, and you want to know more about their stuff. To be able to see the whole show in a day, don't think you'll ever do that. To be able to see the whole show in 3 days that it's open, you probably won't ever do that.
Well, especially if you're there to like try to market yourself, there's no way you'll see everything.
Yeah,
because you got to spend time at booths and stuff.
You know, that is what a lot of people are there for, is to market themselves. You know, we were there just to let people know about the podcast. You know, for us, the day was a win. We got 3 interviews out of the day,
which is crazy
for next year. And they were people that I would have never thought. At least 2 of them were people I would have never thought we'd got.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. There's some fairly big names on this list. So
we got some good interviews coming up, and it's all because of God. You know.
Hey, y'all better stay tuned, because I know of at least one of these guys is.
Everybody's going to want to hear.
He's got a pretty large following, so a lot of people know who this guy is. So
so we're excited to watch God work, and that's what it was. That's what PRI was for me yesterday. Was hanging out with my friends. You know, we've got new friends in Eddie and Mark, and they've been great to help us with the podcast, and to hang out with them and to meet some of the guys that we actually buy their parts, and then thirdly was to kind of put the podcast out there. You know, let some of these people that we buy their stuff know that we have the podcast. You know, and several of them just, you know, right there, down to earth dudes, pull their phone out and follow us on Instagram. You know, so they can see what we're doing. So that was awesome, and really that the show is so massive. It's kind of overwhelming, because you walk in and you're like, where do I go first? And as you start walking through a little bit, you realize, well, it don't matter where I start, I'm never going to see this whole thing. And I only had 1 day to be there. You know, I wished I could have been there, you know, at least 2 days, because after being there for 1, I realized, well, if I was here for 2 days, I could have talk to the people that I really needed to see and really wanted to see the first day, and then the second day try to get out there and see some of the booths that I'm interested in, and try to meet some new people.
And see some of the cars that you see online too, because there was a bunch of really cool stuff there that I know you've seen all over the internet. So,
but it's so massive, you just you cannot walk aisle to aisle. You just can't do it. It's just too much. You've got to have in your mind, these are people I want to see or talk to, and you've got to go there for that. And then if you see new booths along the way that you want to check out, you can, you know, hop in there and see them.
So pretty much your day was talking to a couple people and then taking pictures for me is what it was.
A lot, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, because there's a lot of cars there that I wanted to see. Like I said, I'm blanking today. The sick week guy. Tom Bailey.
Yeah.
His car was there.
And that car was awesome.
Yeah, I mean it's like a full on like pro mod car.
Yeah.
I mean it's crazy looking. It had a pace car wrap on it. He just got that done recently.
And then they had a original pace car 69 Camaro sitting beside it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So they had his car, and then they had that one sitting right beside it. And I think they're giving that car away.
Really? That's cool. So yeah, your day was a lot of taking pictures for me toward the end there, but trying to find the booths where I wanted to, you know, where I had cars that I wanted to see there. But one car you didn't get to see that I kind of want to touch on really quickly because it's just so insane. You didn't get to see it because it was so big, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't even remember what booth it was in, but it was a VR38 DETT Fox body. So if you don't know what that motor is, that is the motor that is in a GTR. and somebody had swapped that into a Fox body. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm a big purist when it comes to a lot of stuff. Ford motors and Fords, Chevy motors and Chevys, stuff like that. But it's like, that's just such a wild swap. Like, how can you not like it? You know what I'm saying? It's just so cool, and it was done pretty well. I mean, all the piping and like the color scheme of the car was black and purple. So like all the piping was like black, and then you'd have purple accents here and there, and it just looked really good. It looked really well done, which also I've only seen it on Instagram, so maybe there was some stuff unhooked. Who knows? You know.
Well,
but
you were talking.
It looked cool.
You were talking about the vehicles with the unhooked stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So one of these was a Land Rover.
Yes. That's what it was.
that truck was there for suspension.
Okay.
Because it had an unbelievable suspension set up on it, but it had been converted to a rear engine and had a Lamborghini motor in it.
It was one of these off-road.
It was like an off-road truck.
I think it was at SEMA.
Well, when you walked around the back of it where the motor was, the first thing you notice is there's no wiring harness and there's no coil pack plug. The coil packs are there, but they're not plugged up. Mm-hmm. I mean, the motor was not running at all. And you just walk up and you're like, really? It's sitting here and it don't even run. But you realize they're in a suspension booth, and they were marketing the suspension and the wheels and tires. And all that.
See, my thing with that too is like, look, if you want to pull in like a roller, and you've got the suspension, and that's what you're showing off, cool. But if you've got something like a rear engine to Land Rover, and it's not hooked up, I mean, that's obviously a pretty large selling point for the vehicle.
But how many people are going to go follow that now?
Probably a
to
lot.
see what it does when it's finished.
I mean, look, maybe it's just a mind game, and we're just not smart enough to recognize it. But I don't know, man. I just hate seeing like when you go to a show like PRI or SEMA, it is the best of the best. If I'm going to my local cruise-in and someone has a half-done car, that's whatever, because it's a local cruise-in.
Yeah.
I'm going to SEMA or PRI. I want to see a finished car. I mean, these are the top of the top. These are $500,000 cars. Yeah. And see, that's one thing I liked about BCC Zach's car. Is it was done at SEMA, it was driven in California. Mm-hmm. It like the car can drive, the car can move under its own power. I mean, that's a finished car. Yeah. That car's done.
Yeah,
and that's what I like. I don't like all this Bluetooth stuff. I mean, you've got $500,000 car and you're leaving fuel injectors unplugged.
Yeah. Well, one car that I thought was awesome at PRI moves us into the next thing we're going to talk about. And that was a Mustang GT3. So the GT3 is like a full-fledged, race car.
It's essentially the GTD, but it's like the race car
because
it's not road legal.
Yeah, some of the guys that were walking up saying, "Oh, there's a GTD," and I said, "No, that's actually a GT3," and it did have a big banner on it, which they didn't notice. It said GT3. Yeah. But a GT3 is full-fledged race car. I mean, the interior was gutted. Yeah. It was a race car.
So it's a non-road legal. So it looks like the GTD, but it's got a bunch of liveries on it.
Single lug nut wheels on it.
It's a race car. Yes. It's supposed to be on the track.
But it has the GTD basically body panels on it,
the wing and
everything, everything, just like the GTD. So it looks like a stock kind of car, but it is a race car. But that car was awesome. And looking under the hood, I mean, it's a tubular chassis and everything, you know. Looking under the hood, I don't know what the motor was, but it was insane.
It's probably just the 5.2.
It could have been. It was insane looking. But
I mean, that motor has done some crazy stuff. So.
That leads us up to the GTD.
Yeah.
Setting a record.
Speaking of that motor doing some crazy stuff, the GTD, the production car, not the race car, the production car, was on the Nürburgring.
There you go. You got it.
Okay, I hate saying that word, but if you don't know what that is kind of really the basis of where all track cars are tested. Yeah. So like the Z011LE,
because it's the toughest track.
Your McLarens, your McLarens, your Lamborghinis, your Porsches. This is all where they're tested, and depending on how fast they run, is kind of shows how good of a performance car they are.
It shows where you measure up with the top of the top.
Yes. So. The the Mustang GTD ran a 6 minute, 57.685 second lap time, and this is a 12.9 mile course with 72 turns in it. I think.
I think that's right.
Just to kind of like emphasize how difficult of a track this is, it's actually called the Green Hell.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty intense track if you don't know what it is, but that set the GTD as the fastest American production car to ever run that, and that beat out the Camaro Z01 by, I think, 30 seconds is what I read. And then it beat out the Viper ACR by 4 or 5.
Yeah, and
which, I mean, in racing, 5 seconds is insane. That's a
listening,
lot of time.
If y'all, I know y'all have probably seen the videos. When you listen to that car running the track, that thing sounds insane.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, the thing
you
is-
can tell it's a big muscle V8 in
Yeah.
that thing because it is just mean sound.
I mean, just imagine, though. Imagine you just bought your Porsche off the lot for $500,000, and that thing can get outran on a circuit by a Mustang. How does that feel?
Well, yeah, because everybody thinks the Mustangs burnouts into the ditch. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you
Well,
think.
but
But this car is nothing like that, and it's a $350,000. I think that's what it's going to be at.
Yeah,
like
$300 to
$350,000 car.
And so, like, yes, I know to guys like us, that is out of reach. That's never
Yeah.
going to happen for
Yeah.
us. But when you look at the people that will be buying cars like that, like your guys that buy the $500,000 Lamborghini, and then you can buy a Mustang for $200,000 cheaper
Yeah.
and be faster than that Lamborghini. I mean, and also the car that holds the 10 spot on the list of the fastest production cars to run on the Nürburgring is a Porsche, and I can't remember which one it is, but it ran a 657. So
But it's 6057 flat.
yeah, it was a 657 flat. So it's not far off of.
No.
I mean, the GTD's not
and
far
they
off.
feel like the car's faster
Yeah,
than what it did.
I mean, it could crack the top 10.
Yeah.
And imagine an American car. You know, American car is obviously known for going in a straight line. I mean,
Yeah,
the Camaro's always been geared towards it. Challenger and Chargers have always been geared toward going in a straight line.
Yeah.
Even now, even like as the Camaro and the Mustangs kind of veer towards circuit racing.
Yeah, the ZL1 has showed that it's it's a track car.
Yeah,
So,
even though it's 30 seconds slower than the
Yeah.
GTD, but
Yeah.
it's also probably quite a bit cheaper than the GTD too.
well, my only thing about this is awesome for Ford. It's awesome for the Mustang brand.
It's awesome for American motorsports.
Yes, it is. But I'm afraid for Ford it's going to be short-lived because the ZR1 is about ready to hit the road,
Yeah.
and when it does, it's probably going to beat it.
Yeah, well, it has
1,000
it has
horsepower.
about 200 horsepower on the GTD.
Yeah,
but-
and it's mid-engine, so its weight distribution's probably a little bit better, and it's probably going to handle a little bit better. As I think it's all-wheel drive also. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong on that, but I think it is. That it's
I don't
just going to
remember.
be.
I know the E-Ray is all-wheel drive.
Yeah, it's just going to be probably a little bit better car. And I would say that Ford will be chasing it, but I don't think they're going to be chasing it by much.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll see what happens, though.
Yeah, well, speaking of Ford, we got some big news recently.
Yeah.
Very,
we
very,
did.
very excited about.
Very excited about.
So, we have talked on here before that we were worried that when NMRA, kind of threw in the towel, that Ford Fest was going to be gone. And that's our favorite show. We work every single year. You know what? Like my car is down. My car's been down for forever, but it will make it to Ford Fest. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of how we do things. Like,
Yeah.
yes, this may be down for 6 months, but it will go to Ford Fest. That's just the way things work for us. So that's our favorite show of the year. We love going to it. It's all like-minded people like
Huge
us.
event.
Yeah, it's pretty massive. But we just got the confirmation from Holly that Ford Fest, they're finalizing deals with Beach Bend
Beach
Raceway
Bend, yep.
to keep it going
Keep
next
it
year
going.
without NMRA.
And it will be Holly Ford Fest, but it will no longer be the NMRA Nationals.
Which kind of sucks because the cars that were there for the drag racing were pretty cool.
Yeah.
But something I want to mention, and this is we're going a little off list here, by the way, but Sick Week now has a Coyote stock.
Oh, really?
Yes, and
Okay.
so in there, so they have two events that are going on. One is called Sick on the Green. This starts next year in May, if I'm not mistaken. Sick on the Green, and then there's another one. But these events go hand in hand. They have a Coyote stock class for that. Because NMRA's gone, and they saw that, so they're like, well, we're going to fill the shoes of NMRA.
Because NMRA had a big Coyote stock class.
Yeah.
It was huge.
I follow guys on Instagram that run that class.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a pretty large class.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, so Sick Week is now
awesome.
taking
That's
that up.
good.
Yep. So I thought that'd be something to throw
We're
in
excited because we were concerned, and my whole thought process the whole time was Holly has got to pick this up.
It's
because
too big
the
of an
show's
event.
bigger than Mo Party. It's smaller than LS Fest, but it's bigger than Mo Party, and it brings a big turnout, and it gets a lot of really big-time YouTubers that come
Yeah,
through.
that's what I was about to say. I mean, well, just a couple years ago.
Who are Holly sponsored.
Yeah, just a couple years ago, Ford Era, Solomon Lunger was there with like all of his friends. I mean, there was tons of people from all over the United States there with their trucks.
But you've had Cletus there.
Yeah, Cletus McFarland was there back in like 2019.
Yeah.
He drifted Neighbor, which is, if you don't know, is his Crown Vic, which now has a like GT500 motor in it. I don't remember what it had
then.
Yeah, I don't remember what it had back then. But as GT500,
I think it was a turbo 4.6 in it.
I don't know. I think it was at least a Coyote.
That car.
I don't remember. I didn't watch Cletus back in 2019.
It wasn't nothing like it is now.
No. But I mean, he was there. The Craig 909 was there. I know Speedy Cop was there not too long ago. He had the airplane.
And then you've had Dylan McCool. He's there every year.
Yep. Sleeper Dude was there last year.
Every year. So you got all these big guys that come who are Holly sponsored.
Well, then also Von Gittin Jr., Chelsea Denofa ran always. Year. Now it's Von Gittin Jr. and Ben Hobson. Ben Hobson took Chelsea Denofa's car. Well, not took it, but you know what I'm saying. He now drives the Pennzoil car. But
so I'm like, how could Holly not jump in and sponsor that show and keep it going?
It's a huge event. And I mean, you've got guys from, we speak every year to a guy that comes from Michigan.
Yeah.
All the way to Kentucky to go to this event. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's just that big of an event. So
So we're excited that it's going to keep rolling.
Yeah.
And one other thing that looks like at this point now it might keep rolling, and that's Motor Trend TV. After the big scare, Roadkill's dead, all these shows are dead.
All these guys went to YouTube as well.
Yeah. All of a sudden, the owners of Car and Driver, Road and Track Magazine.
I think they're called Hearst. I think that's the name.
Yes, Hearst Publishing has bought the rights, or bought the company, not the rights. They bought the company. They bought Motor Trend, not just the magazine, but all the production side of it too. And what does that mean? Well, when you look at their Instagram post, they mentioned Roadkill multiple times. So
interesting.
My thought is Roadkill's coming back. It's not going to be dead in the water.
And that's not confirmed, but that's just kind of our theory.
That's just my theory, because if your Discovery Channel is, I don't know if Discovery Channel realized how big Roadkill was.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the numbers weren't what they wanted, but apparently this Hearst Publishing looked at it and said, yeah, we'll take that.
Yeah.
Because they bought all of it.
It just seems like they just spent money in the wrong place.
Yes. So hopefully your Roadkill will be back. Your Vice Grips show, I can't even remember the name of it. It'll be back. And Hot Rod Garage and all the shows that everybody's loved over the years will be back. Honestly, guys, I haven't been able to watch any of that stuff for quite a while. We've been so tied up in the podcast. And
then our cars as well.
Our cars. It has been really hard to watch any of those shows, but there's so many of those shows over the years that I have loved and I have enjoyed. And Engine Masters with tag on it, man. The Roadkill guys.
I can't help you here. I don't know any of these guys.
Freiburger. With Freiburger and Dulcich, the Engine Masters was cool to me because you can learn a whole lot about some of the testing that they did on the dyno from different parts, different intakes, different carbs. I mean, I love that show. So if you're a techie kind of guy, which I'm not, but I still enjoyed it, you would get a lot out of what they did there.
Well, I'm going to give a little bit of a hot take here.
All right.
I did not watch any of that, ever. I only know who these guys are because they're so popular.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I've never watched any of the shows. I know some of the cars because obviously they're all over the internet.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even like back a couple years ago, I used to collect Hot Wheels, and they had Roadkill Hot Wheels, like the Datsun that they built with like I think it was like had a crazy turbo out the hood or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, I knew that car because it was a Hot Wheel, you know. Mm-hmm. I didn't watch any of these shows. The only people I know Freiburger and Finnegan. And which one has Blasphemy?
That's Finnegan.
Okay, I like his car. I know that car.
So you don't even know who?
No. I just know that car. And then on Hot Rod Garage is Alex Taylor, and that's because she drives a 6-second Bel Air. That's the only reason I know who she is.
I actually really like Lucky, and I liked before Alex Taylor was even on the show. You had Lucky and oh man,
we're blanking today.
Blanking, yes. Wow. Anyway, he's got his own YouTube channel now. Anyway, I liked it before she was on there even more. I mean, there's nothing wrong with her at all.
Yeah.
But you had an actual race car driver on there, and when they would finish building these cars, I mean, he didn't care what it was. He was taking it out and drifting it. I mean, he was doing massive burnouts with it.
So he wasn't a straight line racer? He was.
Oh, no, he was a drifter.
Okay.
Yeah. Why can't I remember his name? I watch him all the time. He just did a D100 with a turbo,
Oh,
slant six and a turbo. That's why it really intrigued me.
It's Tony something.
Tony Angelo.
There you go.
Yeah, Tony Angelo.
And I only remember that because you mentioned it to me the other day.
Oh, man. But anyway, when he was on there, I thought the show, and Alex Taylor does a good job, and I'm not knocking her at all. I like Tony Angelo. Tony Angelo's a down-to-earth guy. If you watch his YouTube channel, you see that he does a lot of budget stuff. And when I watch him, I think, hey, we can do that here.
Yeah, when you watch Alex Taylor, you don't think you can do that there because that's a 6-second car.
No. So anyway, I think Motor Trend TV will be back. I hope that I hope it's in the app form. You know, I know it's like a $5 or $10 subscription, but all your shows are right there. You don't have to wait for them to come on at their slotted time. You can find whatever you want and just go watch it. You know, watch the newest episodes.
I think they're going to get a big surge of viewership when they come back.
Oh,
if
they
will.
do.
And
because
honestly,
people want to keep it around.
Well, they would be dumb not to because, like, they can really, like, if they release it again very soon, they can really capitalize off of all the hype that is going on right now about, oh, no, Motor Trend's gone.
Yeah.
And then people are like, even people that maybe don't watch the show super consistent, they're going to tune in for when they release it again.
Yeah.
So,
well, which they'll have to have new seasons coming along because Discovery's still got seasons finishing up.
They got
certain
one
shows.
full season, I think.
Of certain shows.
Is what? Of Roadkill. They got one full season of Roadkill. If I'm not mistaken.
I think Hot Rod Garage and Vice Grip Show all have one season left. So
which we mentioned Vice Grip. Vice Grip's fine without Motor Trend TV.
Oh yeah,
Vice Grip makes. I don't know if you've ever looked at his views, or if y'all really know like a whole lot about how YouTube works and stuff. But this guy, all I'm gonna say is this guy most likely makes a ton of money because he gets at least 1 million, 2 million views a video.
Yeah.
And you release one a week. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money.
Even though, because I'm getting aware a 2-hour video is just too much.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I never like 2-hour videos because
you got to break them up.
You know, I can sit down and watch a 1-hour episode.
Yeah.
But a 2-hour one, no, it's going to have to be broke up in 2 nights at least, maybe 3 nights. And they won't be back-to-back nights, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't get to watch a lot of stuff anymore because all my favorite people have went to 2-hour episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And then,
which is great because they get a ton of content out, and I'm very happy that they can. But it's like it makes it hard for us.
Yeah, and so you look at Vice Grip though, his fan base is going to watch regardless. But I struggle with watching a lot of his stuff.
Well, I mean, same with Puddin's Fab Shop. His fan base is going to watch regardless too.
Yes, I love watching Vice Grip, but unless it's just something that really sticks out to me that I got to see, I don't watch it because I can't find the time to sit down and watch 2 hours.
Yeah.
And when I talk to just my friends, they're saying the same thing, and they're like, hey, put a 30 or 45-minute episode out, and we're all over.
Yeah.
You know, even if it takes you multiple episodes to finish one vehicle, that's okay, because that's how we need to watch it anyway.
Yeah. Well, honestly, it'd probably help them out in the long run because they could work on things slower.
Yeah.
Instead of, because, like, I mean, I know, like, guys like Puddin, right? Because that's someone I watch. I don't really watch Vice Grip. I follow what he does, but I don't really watch him. But, like, Puddin's Fab Shop, he will work on a vehicle in 1 week, and then post a video at the end of the week of him working on that vehicle. But the thing is if, like, let's say it's a 2-hour video, he could split it up into 2 episodes and work slower.
Yeah.
Work slower 1 week, and then...
Well, even his stuff is stretching out to the 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling to watch his. And I love watching Puddin' Fab Shop guys because he is just like a really down-to-earth, homegrown, started a YouTube channel and bought a box truck and lowered it, and the video blew up, and here he is all of a sudden
Here he is with 5 box trucks.
Yeah. And he's like, I don't know how I got here, but this is what happened.
Yeah.
And he's making a living off of it now.
Well, look, we know we've just talked about how they make long episodes, but if that is someone I will shout out. If you have not watched Puddin's Fab Shop, check him out.
Go check
Seriously,
him out.
He is hilarious.
Yep.
He's so funny, and he does stuff like we would do.
Yeah.
Like, he does things right.
On a budget.
He does things right, but on a budget.
Yep.
So,
I think that we want to kind of finish this out by talking about a little bit what's going on here in our own shop.
Yep.
So I'm going to start off by talking about the golden white truck. You guys have probably seen us post about that a little bit. That truck, we've pretty well are at a stopping point for the most part on that. We got a few little things we're going to do to it, but we've got the core support done. We've got the front body mounts all done. Zach worked on the exhaust, got Flowmaster exhaust on it.
Sort of. You ended up finishing that up.
Well, it's all right. I mean, it was just a couple little things, but we ended up having to put some leaf springs on it because we were driving through town the other day and a leaf spring come apart and we heard clankety clank clank and looked, and behind us out in the street was part of the leaf spring.
Yep.
So we had put some leaf springs on it, which was good because we didn't realize how bad they were. It got the truck up to its normal height, which it's jacked a little bit in the back.
Yeah,
but
it's got a little bit of a hot rod rake to it.
it'll level out, you know, when we drive
it.
So we've gotten a lot done to that truck, and my youngest son, it's his truck. He hasn't even got his license yet. He's got about another month, and he'll be getting his license. And I'm like, dude, you ought to be proud. You got a really nice truck. You know?
The thing is like, another thing. We got to mention this. Rock lights. He installed his rock lights.
Yeah, he just installed rock lights. Yeah, that's one of them.
He's very excited about that.
Yeah,
so
one of them young boy things.
Well, look, here's what I'm going to say, okay? I hate on rock lights. He also has the Starlight headliner. I hate on that stuff, but I'm going to tell you right now. I had the opportunity to take that truck to work yesterday, and I loved it. Even the rock lights, the headliner. I had the rock lights and the Starlight turned on, buddy. I mean, it was so cool. It was cool. Like I hate on it all the time, but I'm gonna tell you right now, his truck is so clean, and the white lights just make it. It just completes the truck. Yeah. I mean, the truck is such a good looking truck, and when I was 16. I would have loved to have something like that. Now, I will say I had a very nice truck.
Had a nice truck at 16.
I had a very nice truck. But, you know, he has more knowledge than I did when I was 16. Because, like, we were just getting into working on cars.
And he's been around it since he was, 10 years old?
And maybe younger than that. Yeah. I mean, we've been doing stuff for years.
9,
yeah. So it's like, because, like, back then, we didn't even think to lower my truck.
Yeah.
And, I mean, his is, like, leveled with boggers and, you know, aftermarket wheels and all kinds of stuff, and I was running stock 454 SS wheels on a stock height Silverado essentially.
But we did a lot of work with that truck.
No, we did. But no, he's very blessed to have such a nice vehicle that he works for.
He wired all the Starlight himself. He wired the rock lights with a buddy. They got that all done. And
they actually hit it away pretty well.
Yeah, they did. And it's a good looking truck. And guys, that truck is a great example of what you can do on a budget, because he wanted a truck. We bought him the Bronco. He bought the Bronco.
Yeah, he bought the Bronco.
He didn't care for the Bronco as much. He wanted a long bed, regular cab, OBS. And so I just kept looking. And finally one popped up for $1,000. And the guy posted all these pictures of the rust around the core support and the body mounts. So I went and looked at the truck because I'm like, okay, well, that's stuff that we can do.
Yeah.
So I went and looked at it, and my mind was blown because the dude just said, look, I'm not capable of doing this kind of work, and I'm tired of the truck just sitting here rotting away. So he was a little bit younger guy than me, and he's just like, I just don't know how to do that work. So, I mean, I just looked the truck over real good, and I'm like, look, we can do it. We can do every bit of it. I called my son, and I said, look, if you want this truck, I'm going to buy it. If you don't want this truck, I'm going to buy it anyway. Because I'm going to fix it for me if you don't want it. He's like, no, bring it home, So I offered the guy $800. And right now, the way it sits, I don't think we have more than $2,200 into it.
And the thing that's actually
crazy, it's a $5,000, $6,000 truck.
That's what I was about to say. In this market, it's at least $6,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it could go for more. And what's funny is I was sitting with my buddies. I went out with my buddies and ate, and we rode in his truck to go get food. And he was jokingly be like, hey, somebody buy my truck. He says stuff like that all the time.
Yeah,
but
you just got to know his personality.
Yeah. But somebody's like, well, how much you want for it? And he goes, I'll do $7,500. And they're like, $75. And I was like, y'all must not have seen OBS prices.
Yeah.
I was like, that is probably worth $7,500.
Close to it.
The thing that's funny is, right there at that table, we went on Marketplace and we found one that looked maybe slightly better than his for $8,500.
Yeah.
And I was like,
because look, for $800, the 4-wheel drive worked. It ran. It shifted fine.
Well, we know the transfer case engages because we tested that last night.
Well, I tested it before. The guy let me take it in his field behind his house.
Oh, nice.
And lock it into 4-wheel drive and drive it around the field. So, but that's something you can do on a budget, guys. And that truck has come a long ways since we got it. I mean, it already looked decent. He's still got more stuff that he wants to do to it, so it's going to continue to look even better.
Well, he's told me that around springtime, which his timing is sometimes a little wacky. So we'll say
he's a kid.
we'll say summer. We'll say summer. It'll go under another little kind of new configuration.
Yeah,
we'll see some new stuff on it. I think
we'll see because it's coming out of Dad's garage. So we'll see.
So I guess we'll move on to the Mustang.
Yeah.
So the white Mustang, I've kind of mentioned stuff about it here and there about how it's been down and. I've been saying that for 6 months now. So what happened to the Mustang? Real quick backstory of what happened to it is I bought it for $2,200. It had frame rail rust on it, which y'all know. Y'all probably already know a lot of this stuff. But anyway, it had frame rail rust.
Well, it's not really frame rails, but
it's not. It's the subframe. And
you don't want somebody to start commenting saying it don't even have a frame. It's a unibody.
Whatever. Anyway. Subframe and shock tower rust. They were completely gone, okay? So I bought this car and I was like, there's rust holes there, but I could probably wait, maybe a couple weeks. Well, my clutch was completely out, so I decided I was going to go ahead and pull it in the garage and we were going to replace the clutch. Well, as I jacked the car up, I saw through the fender, or like in between the wheel and the fender, that I could actually see the engine through the hole in the side of the frame.
So it was a little worse than we thought.
Yeah, and then we hit it with a hammer, and it was even worse than that. I mean, if you're watching on YouTube, the hole was probably this big. It was gigantic, and it was on both sides. So we ended up going through all that, replacing.
You shouldn't have told all that. It makes us look stupider than we are.
No, because I'm gonna tell you right now, $2,200 for a running, driving Mustang GT.
It's all stock.
2-owner, completely bone stock.
I still think it was a good deal.
That's a perfect deal, especially when I can do all the fabrication myself and I didn't need to pay for anything. I had all the metal in the garage. We had a welder. Yeah. I just did it all myself. I mean, you helped me.
And it looks really good.
Yeah. I mean, so look,
it's not perfect, but it looks good.
You can think we're dumb for not noticing something like that, but I'm gonna tell you right now that I got a steal on this car and I would do it again. So anyway, we did all the rust repair. And I was like, well, since the motor's out, I'm going to go ahead and put an E303 cam in it, which I think I've mentioned on here before. E303 cam, go ahead and reseal the motor, do a new timing set, just a little stuff. I wanted to make this a very 90s build, so I was going GT40 heads, GT40 intake, which I still have the GT40 intake. Never bought the heads, though. I was just going to do very 90s, going to throw nitrous on it. It was just going to be a cool little 350, 400 horsepower street car. That's all I really wanted out of it. Well, we put the motor together and put it in the car and went to crank it. And it cranked over. It was getting air, spark, and fuel because it was shooting fireballs out of the exhaust. So I know it was getting something. Maybe the timing was just a little off. That was why I was shooting fireballs. But kept cranking. We're like, okay, well, let's adjust the timing. Maybe that's the problem. We adjust the timing, crank it, and it still didn't start. So I was like, okay, well, then we reset the timing completely, top dead center, put the thing on the first, put the distributor on the number, or the rotor button on number 1, did all that right, everything you're supposed to do. Went to go crank it, and it just starts free spinning. And I was like, oh crap, oh man, this is bad.
What happened?
So, I was like, well, maybe the timing's just really off. So I messed with the timing multiple times, because in my head, I'm like, there's no way I'm pulling this motor out again. By the way, I'm doing all this. I'm like going as fast as I possibly can because I'm trying to get this car done for my wedding because me and my wife are going to drive it to Tennessee for our honeymoon. And so I was like coming out here every single night after working 10 hours a day. I would come out here and work on the car for 4. And then when my days off, I would work out here for 12 to get this car done.
Yeah.
So it started free spinning. Eventually, we realized that the distributor wasn't turning, which means the cam gear isn't turning, which means the cam's not turning. So we had to pull the whole motor back apart. Well, we pulled the motor back apart and realized that the cam bolt and the dowel pin are completely sheared off. They're gone. So that was really
very
disappointing. Yeah. And I was like, well, what in the world could cause this? And at first, I started blaming Ford Performance. I was like, I'm never buying an E303 cam because at first I thought the cam just seized.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm never buying
the bolt was bad.
Then I thought the ARP bolt. I was like, I'm never buying ARP parts again. I can't believe this bolt just snapped. It's supposed to be stronger than that. Well, then I started pulling things apart, because I had to tear the engine back down. So I started pulling things apart and realized that all the intake push rods on the driver's side head were bent, every single one of them. And 2 of them were bent really bad, and then 2 of them were just kind of had like a slight bow in it. But I noticed that, and I was like, maybe something else. Maybe it's not just a seized, something happened here. So I went on forums and couldn't find anything, went on Facebook groups, and a bunch of people gave me some stupid advice because I laid out my entire build, everything I did, exactly how I did it, the time frame, everything. And then you have people like, well, did you do this? I'm like, why don't you just go back and read the post, and you'll see that I did, in fact, do that. And they're like, well, what about...
That's so aggravating.
They're like, was it a stock bottom end? Yes, it's a stock bottom end. They're like, well, the E303 is too big. No, it's not. It's not too big. It's barely bigger than stock. Anyway, besides all that, I got two guys that gave me good advice. One guy's advice wasn't correct, but I decided to check it just to make sure. And then one guy said, what timing set did you buy? And I decided to look at my timing set and compare it to my stock one. I never responded to the guy. But the timing set I bought, I think, had a indention that stuck outward.
Yeah.
And stock timing set is flat. So I think what I did is when I tightened the cam gear on, I tightened it up against it, and it forced the cam into a spot where it was bound up.
Yeah, where it bounded up.
And it ended up breaking off.
Yeah, and look, I take a lot of the blame for that.
I don't think you should.
Well, I do, because we were in a rush to throw this motor together.
Yeah.
Okay, that was the number one fault.
Yeah.
We should have.
And we talk all the time about how you need to take your time and research your parts and stuff like that.
And we were throwing this together quickly, and building a 302 myself before, I should have noticed it. The difference is the 302 I built was actually a flat tappet.
Yeah.
And this is a roller motor, and the cam gear was for a flat tappet, right?
I don't know.
Okay.
No. See, that's a different. We're gonna get there.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I ordered the wrong timing gear, or timing set, and I don't really know. Maybe I think probably I just didn't pay enough attention, because when I looked it up on Jegs, it was just...
Oh, that was your heads.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Well, anyway, though, let me finish what I was saying. That, I feel a little responsible for that, because I should have noticed that something wasn't right about it.
But I mean, it
because
stock.
When we tightened it down...
But we did notice, we were like, that looks a little weird or something.
Yeah, it was really tight, but the mower cranked over by hand.
Yeah.
But it was tight. I mean,
So I'm glad you mentioned that, because I figure somebody in the comments would be like, well, why didn't you, crank it over by hand?
We cranked it
multiple times. Yeah.
Even when it was in the car, we cranked it over by hand. But it was pretty tight.
Yeah, it had very, very strong compression. Yeah. I guess maybe it's not so strong. Maybe it's just the cam was bound up. Yeah. But when I went on Jegs, I just looked up 302 timing set, and I bought not the most expensive one, but kind of in the middle, because they had really cheap ones and they had like $70, $80 ones, and I bought like a $70 or $80 one, and it was a good timing set. It was like a Speedmaster or something, but I didn't read like the whole description of what it was for, because it just said 302, 351, and 289 or something like that, I think. So it was just a small block timing set. Well, I didn't pay much attention, and keep that in mind, because we're going to get to how I don't pay much attention in a minute. But I decided after that broke, I was like, well, I don't have to rush to get the car done anymore. So I've always wanted a race car. I'm making a decent amount of money, so I'm going to build a race car. And that's where we're at now. I am currently turning the Mustang into a race car. It is it's going to stay small block Ford, obviously. I ain't doing none of that LS garbage.
Small tire.
Yeah, small tire. It's going to be small tire. It's not going to be competitive in like small tire racing. Like if y'all watch like Charlie Brown, or with Tin Soldier race cars, or if you're watching like Street Racing Channel and stuff like that, I'm not going to compete with those guys at all. But this thing should run, I'm shooting for at least a mid-6, maybe a low 6 in the eighth. Yeah. And then a 10 in the quarter.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a stock bottom end. And by the way, all y'all saying, 10 and a quarter, that ain't ever going to happen. You're never going to be able to run a 6 in the eighth. The stock bottom end 302, tell you right now, all y'all got to do is just look it up. There are tons of guys that do this.
Yep.
Tons of guys. But actually, I saw there's a guy on a forum I found that ran a 9.3 in the quarter with a stock bottom end motor.
That's crazy.
Now, and he ran 25, according to the guy on the forum, that motor had 25 passes on it and still running strong when the last time he updated the forum was. But anyway, stock bottom end, I went with Trick Flow 170 heads, and I'm keeping my GT40 intake. I'm just going to port match it. And I went with an F303 cam because it's good for boost. And that brings me to the point that I am turboing it. It's going to get probably about 10 pounds of boost to it. I might up it slightly, but when you start upping it, that's when you start cracking blocks. So kind of want to be careful with that just to get through a couple events this year, and then maybe next year I might just shoot it up to 15 and see if it blows up. So I got another motor idea that's going to go into it. But that brings me to before we get too far, I want to bring up how you should always look up your parts and pay very, very close attention, because I bought my Trick Flow 170 heads, okay? And they are the twisted wedge design. It was supposed to work with a stock bottom end motor. That's what I've read on forums. Well, got them here, and I was like, oh man, these are so nice. Well, for some reason, don't know why, just randomly decided, let me look back at my order and see what I actually ordered. I mean, they looked fine, they looked perfect. But I look at my order, and I was reading the description, and it's like, this is for a flat tappet motor. And I was like, oh crap, I don't have a flat tappet motor. So then I messaged Trick Flow, because I didn't know what the difference between flat tappet heads and roller heads are, because I'm like, I mean, they all work essentially the same. They've got springs, I mean, except it's not tapping, it's rolling on it. So I decided to message them, and they're like, well, so if these are for guys that don't know that there's a difference, like me, the spring pressure for a flat tappet is not as strong as the spring pressure for a roller motor. So if I was to put a roller cam in a flat tappet, the spring pressure wouldn't be as strong, and I'd probably have a lot of float. Yeah. So, but if I put in reverse, I put a flat tappet with roller heads, the spring pressure would be too much and cause some binding and probably break a lot of parts. Yeah. So that's what you need. So that's what you need to know about the differences. But the roller motors have a double spring, essentially. And so that's what, luckily Summit is great about stuff like that, and you can actually exchange your parts. I literally just exchanged what I had, and the new ones I bought were like $50 extra, but when you're spending that much money, $50 is nothing. So I just bought the new ones, and they should be in next week. Yep. So by the time, by the time we release this on Tuesday, they might actually already be in.
So you're going to be getting back on this project soon.
Yes, this project will be starting.
Because most of your parts will be here.
Yeah, this project will be starting up very end of December. I'm probably going to keep a lot of y'all updated. I think I'm going to start posting stuff on the Faith Family Cars.
Okay.
Instagram. Yeah, I'm going to keep y'all updated with what I'm doing. It's going to be a lot of test fitting to start, so I'll probably show that and show the process of checking push rod length and stuff like that, because I'll be doing all that because I get some hardened push rods and some more rockers and stuff. But yeah, that's kind of where we're at with this car. I'm shooting for 500 to 600 horsepower. I'm kind of going overboard because if y'all know about 302s, you can get Neo Mustangs made 560 horsepower on a head-studded stock GT40 motor with a turbo on it, making 15 pounds of boost. So, I mean, he made 560. Now, I think it was hitting boost cut, so they turned it down to 530, but still, that was to the wheels on a stock GT40. It's an Explorer engine, by the way, a stock Explorer engine. And I'm going way overboard with mine by putting the Trick Flows on it, but I want to make sure I get my power, because I'm going to be highly disappointed if I'm not pushing at least 450 wheel. So, that's kind of where we're at.
Well, I hope it all goes great for you, because this has been a dream for a long time, and you're starting to make it reality.
I mean, man, when I was a kid, I'd play with NASCARs on the carpet in the living room and drive NASCARs around. I've wanted to race since I was like 4 years old. I'm not even joking. I talked to Mom and Dad when I was a kid about getting me, into go-kart racing as a kid so that I could, when I got older, be a NASCAR driver.
Back then, man, the money wasn't there.
Yeah, and that's understandable. We still had go-karts to drive out in the yard, so I still got a little taste of it. So it was like, I've wanted to race since I was like 4 years old. I mean, that's just been my dream always. Now, it shifted from NASCAR because, sorry guys, NASCAR is boring. It is not fun to watch anymore.
I agree now.
But I guess drag racing is also boring to a lot of people, so...
Well, why don't you get back to our scriptures? Pull our scripture back up. Read that to us again.
All right. Proverbs 21:2 says, "Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the heart."
Go ahead and read verse 4.
All right. Haughty eyes and a proud heart, the lamp of the wicked are sin.
So, guys, we just kind of, opened up here and told you guys our big mistake, on this motor, which cost Zach quite a bit of money, but it moved him toward a direction that he wanted to go anyway.
Went out about $500. So,
but so we just, we let the wall of pride down, because we know we're just human and we're learning. and we're making mistakes, and we run into so many guys, man. It's just like you're in a group of guys and you always got this one that stands out that is just trying to be better than everybody else.
Yeah.
And he's very prideful about what he does. And yeah, it's good to be prideful, to an extent. Take pride in the build you did.
Take pride in your work.
Take pride in your work, so you do quality work.
Yep.
But, man, drop the walls of pride.
Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does something wrong. So you're not the greatest thing ever.
No, and none of us are.
No.
We are all learning.
No.
And to be prideful about things and not try to teach the younger generation, or not try to tell the younger generation, this is mistakes that I made, or this is what I screwed up on my car, and I had to backpedal and start over, And just like with the axles on my truck, I've made mention of that before, how I sheared one axle off because I cut my axles too short out the gate.
Hey,
that cost me $300.
It was the first time doing something, though.
Yeah.
I mean, we're learning how to do it, and we made a mistake.
Yeah, so it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not know how to do something. And guys, if you know how to do something, and if I know how to do something that somebody else don't know, I'm good with teaching them. I want them to learn.
Yep.
Let's not be so prideful we can't do that, guys. But number one, let's not hang on to any kind of pride that's going to keep us from that relationship with God, because God is greater than anything. Jesus died on the cross for our sins, and we sometimes build up this pride inside of us to where we can't even see the humbleness of Jesus Christ. Our eyes are blinded that, somebody would have done something like that for us. Our eyes are blinded sometimes to the point where we are our own God. We think that we're greater than anything or anyone. And dude, I run into guys like that. I really do.
Yeah.
And it's like, really, dude?
Well,
you think that you're just
when you're in like a blue collar field, or in your state you're in construction. So that's very prevalent in construction and blue collar. I mean, I'm a welder. I've seen plenty of it. So
So guys, let Jesus in.
Yep.
Let him in. Break down the walls of pride. Let Jesus come in. You're never going to be greater than him. Don't think you are. And you're no better than the rest of us, guys. We all put our pants on the same way. Just some of us may know a little more than the other, but that's the guys you need to help. So let's get out there, guys, and just be dudes, Just be chill and enjoy each
generation.
other. Yeah. So, guys, I know that was a little rough, but when I read those verses, I'm like, you know what? That's what's on my heart. That's what's on my heart. So, guys, we hope you all enjoyed this podcast. We appreciate you all. Zach, why don't you send us out?
We need everyone to like, subscribe, comment. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't, give it a dislike. I don't care. Give us your honest opinion. Give us constructive criticism in the comments. We'd love to hear whatever ideas you have about ways we can make this better.
Yep.
We're trying to fix our audio issue. I think we've got that dialed, so we should be good. But we're going to keep working to make this better. And if you've got any ideas to make this better, or something you guys would like to see, maybe something in the garage we've got going on, or you want to see more of it, let us know. We're open.
Share this with your buddies.
Yes.
That is so important. And not for anything for us, but to get the word out there.
Yeah.
Just a couple of dudes sitting around talking about cars and spreading the gospel.
Yep.
So, guys, we love y'all. We appreciate you, and we will see you next time.